Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well today. Boy, life insurance is a messy topic to talk about. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my experience and things that I would suggest you think about when the topic of life insurance comes up. If you are planning to retire early or just planning for retirement, or planning on living a life of financial freedom and you have financial independence. During my working years, I had term life insurance, and all that means is you have insurance coverage, and it's just for a specific period of time, a specific amount of coverage for a specific period of time. I had a level term, 20-year term, which means premiums would stay the same for the next 20 years as long as I continued to keep it. And if something happened to me, then I know my wife and kids would be covered for, is something like 8 to 10 times my annual salary, and they would be in good shape. So in the next couple of years, that term life insurance is going to end. When that 20 years is up, obviously I could continue, but the premiums are going to go way up, and it just, in my mind, it doesn't make sense. Once you reach the point where you're financially independent or not working anymore, in my mind, I feel like you essentially, if you have the funds in place to live for the rest of your life, then there's no need for insurance. And let me just quickly say, I'm not a licensed insurance agent, and I don't know your situation, so this topic is probably something best handled with a financial planner or a licensed insurance agent who can understand your specific situation and know what's appropriate. I will say there are other types of life insurance under the realm of permanent life insurance that has features such as a cash value that you can leverage. Some insurance combines insurance coverage and a benefit at death with investments, and that gets really messy and complicated, and I've never considered any of those type of options. I feel like there are just a limited number of situations where that can make sense to have some form of permanent life insurance. So this would be considered whole life, universal life, or variable life insurance. And other than a couple of specific situations that the majority of people don't run into, I don't think they're appropriate. I don't think there's really a need for it. But again, I'm not familiar with your situation, and something best covered with a professional who can get familiar with your own situation. But when my level term insurance expires, I'm going to let it go. I didn't have any coverage over my wife, and I probably should have, but I never did, and I won't, because in my mind, if she was home with the kids and not generating any income for the household, then there was no need for me to have insurance on her life. Now, I could argue that maybe I should have, just for if something happened to her, there would be a lot of extra expenses I would incur in just taking care of the household and my kids and whatnot. But I never did it, and there was never a problem, and so it worked out for me. But getting back to some form of permanent life insurance, I will say a couple of those rare limited situations where it might make sense include a situation where I've heard of people using life insurance, permanent life insurance, as a way to make sure that they have a guaranteed fixed amount of tax-free money that goes to as an inheritance to the beneficiaries, to their kids. And for whatever reason, they like that idea versus just inheriting any leftover retirement funds that you might have when you pass. I've also I know that if you have, you know, millions and millions of dollars, say over $10 million, then in some cases it might make sense to have insurance to pay for estate tax when you pass. So that's not a burden to your kids, but I think the exemption on federal estate tax for 2025 is something like $13.99 million. So you'd really have to have quite a bit of assets in order for it to make sense. And then the other situation is in the case where you want to have some form of long-term care coverage, and which is very difficult to get, and it's kind of a messy situation. But in some cases, you could get whole life insurance with a rider for a long-term care coverage that might make sense. But again, these are all very unique and in some cases pretty rare circumstances. So I think for the average person, having term life insurance makes a lot of sense during your working years. And then when you reach the point of retirement, you can let those go and be self-funded because you've accumulated enough assets for you and your family to live off of if something were to happen to you or your spouse. So that's my take on it. I'm curious. Leave a comment below. And do you agree or disagree on my thinking on insurance, or do you have a different take? I'd be interested in knowing. By the way, my name is Walter, and this channel exists for those interested in a life of early retirement, preparing for retirement, or just living a life of financial freedom. So if this information is useful to you, if you enjoyed it, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye now.